Welcome, everyone, to Redacted on this Thursday. I'm Clayton Morris.
I'm Natalie Morris.
And on this show, we cover the stories the mainstream media largely ignores. We try to navigate through all of the propaganda that they're heaping on top of us on a regular basis. And boy, is there a lot of propaganda being pushed today about President Trump, about questions about the school shooting in Georgia, and family members coming forward, others who were there and eyewitnesses saying, wait a second, the official story that they're telling you on the news is not what we saw when we were there in person. So we're going to talk about all of that. And what did the FBI know about this shooter ahead of time? Let's see if it sounds familiar to other shootings that we've had across the United States.
Plus, law enforcement preparing for a possible Trump sentencing around the hush money trial. Is he actually going to go to jail or not? Is this election interference? Is this selective prosecution? Yes, it is. It absolutely is selective prosecution. We're going to talk about that. We have Lionel Nation joining us today, and I'm excited about it because he's one of my favorite legal analysts. Plus, does it matter, all of this family feuding around candidates? For instance, now Tim Walz's family coming out against him, Barack Obama's family coming out against him, Trump's family has notoriously been coming out against him. Do we care? Is this real news? Is this something to base your vote on? I want to go over this and we're going to discuss it collectively. Do you care what family members think of one another? And if you do, don't ask my sister about me.
No, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. Also, is there a cover-up at the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control? In fact, yes, there is a massive cover-up at the CDC, and our guest that we have special joining us today on the show has uncovered massive fraud and cover-up, and it has to do with, well, we can't really talk about it just yet, but we will in a little bit, and for that, we're going to be moving over to our friends at Rumble to talk about it a little bit later in the show, but it is astonishing what he's uncovered, and it is going to piss a lot of people off. So we'll get there in a few moments. So good to see all of you guys on this Thursday. Nice to see everybody here. Before we get into today's show, I do want to tell you about our friends over at Lear, because right now, gold, of course, hitting all-time highs. Precious metals are an incredible way to protect your family for what's coming. We are about to see rate cuts. Yes, guys, in just a few short days, the Federal Reserve is about to launch a series of rate cuts, an era of rate cuts, as what they're calling it. So we will see the United States dollar on a downward trajectory. Is this the moment when the U.S. dollar officially dies? You know, it'll be a slow death, right? It'll be on the gurney for a while. But the U.S. dollar, for a global hegemonic power, could be near its end. I mean, Roman Empire sound familiar? So how do you protect your family? You know, we're big proponents of investing in real things like real estate, gold, silver, tangible assets that have been around for 5,000 years. And our friends at Lear Capital can help you get set up in doing that. They're an American company located in the United States of America. And you can order where you actually can get gold coins, silver coins shipped right to your house or stored off-site. It's totally up to you. You can also use an old an old IRA and roll it over into a self-directed IRA if you'd like. And they will help you set that up very, very easily. They've done it actually for all of our children. It's very, very easy to do. So all of our children are actually invested in precious metals inside of their self-directed accounts. This is something that every American can do. Wall Street doesn't control it. You control your own self-directed IRA. So give them a call. Call their 800 number, 613-3557, 1-800-613-3557, or go to LearRedacted.com and learn how you can start investing even just a little bit of the U.S. dollars you might have in an old savings account or something into precious metals and see if it's a fit for you. Talk to them. And again, see if it's a fit for you. Well, troubling inconsistencies with the official story that is coming out of the school shooting at Apalachee High School in Georgia. Now, the official story is that a single person, a 14-year-old student, Colt Gray, shot and killed 4 people and injured 9 others, allegedly. Allegedly, this is the official story. Of course, he will appear in court tomorrow. He is now in custody. But apparently the neighbors never saw this kid before. Didn't even know who he was. Except for the morning of the shooting, he came out of nowhere.
First, the latest on the suspect. Within the last few hours, we received the first picture of 14-year-old Colt Gray. This is a yearbook photo that a parent shared with 11 Alive, picture taken 2 years ago when he was in middle school. Gray was booked overnight facing murder charges, and he will be tried as an adult. 11 Alive's Ariana Manise joining us now with what we know about his first court appearance. Ariana.
Cheryl, he'll make his first court appearance tomorrow morning at the Borough County Courthouse. Already investigators are combing through evidence in connection to Colt Gray. Now, 11 Alive, we went to his home yesterday, which is about 6 miles away from Apalachee High School, where we saw ATF investigators. They spent hours going in and out of his home. Now, we spoke to a neighbor who lives across the street from him, and she says she only would see his younger siblings and his dad and wasn't aware that he lived at the home until yesterday when she saw him waiting for the bus the first time.
Interesting. First time. Didn't know who this person was. Where have we heard this before? No one knows who this person is? Like this eagle-eyed neighbor? So this eagle-eyed neighbor who notices everything reminds me of my grandmother, who used to sit in her rocking chair and look out the window in Pennsylvania, and she knew everything. She knew every detail about the comings and goings of all the children in the neighborhood. This kid wasn't at school today. He was homesick. She knew everything. There's a guy across the street that used to mow the lawn with his shirt off. She called him Tarzan. So my grandmother used to say Tarzan was out mowing his lawn today. She knew everything, just like this eagle-eyed neighbor. And stop me if you've heard this before. The FBI knew about this kid over a year ago, and they were watching him. Thanks to Into Thin Air for posting this eagle-eyed neighbor watch.
Here at the home where he lived with his father and two younger siblings. This house right here along Harrison Mill Road is only about 6 miles from Apalachee High School. Now, until today, the neighbor directly across the street never even knew a teenager lived at this home, only seen his two younger siblings around, but never Colt Gray until this morning.
He had on jeans, a dark or black zip-up hoodie with the hood up, and a black backpack. I don't know. I just felt odd. So hours later, this starts unfolding, and then my grandson sends me a picture that's one of the students at Apalachee snapped of the shooter when he had his gun in his hand. And he said, "Gigi, is this who you saw?" And that was the boy.
That's just hours ago. The FBI confirming Colt Gray was flagged by their National Threat Operations Center last year, accused of making online threats tied to shooting up a high school. The FBI says the Jackson County Sheriff's Office tracked those threats down to Colt Gray. They went to his home, spoke to his father and to Colt as well. Now, his father told them these were his hunting guns and that Colt never had unsupervised access to these guns. Colt also denying making those threats online.
Oh, so the neighbor didn't know anything, didn't see this person before, never seen this individual before. That's certainly curious. Where have we heard this before? So the FBI knew about this kid a year ago. Here's the FBI's press release. In May 2023, the FBI's National Threat Operations Center received several anonymous tips about online threats to commit a school shooting in an unidentified location and time. The online threats contained photographs of guns. Within 24 hours, the FBI determined the online post originated in Georgia. And then they went out to his house. They went to the possible subject's house, interviewed him, talked to the father, knew that he had hunting guns in the house. Okay. So they knew all about it. Now, of course, memes. I mean, again, as Libs of TikTok posted today, every single time. Say the line, Bart. Bart wearing an FBI hat. The shooter was on our radar. Once again. Over and over and over again. This is the case. And CIA whistleblower Tony Saruja posted on X, using GPS, the same dirtbag retired FBI special agent we've linked to other shooters was within 1,000 feet of this shooter's mobile devices 11 times in 14 months. That is not a coincidence. 11 times in 14 months, former FBI special agent at other shooting locations was within 1,000 feet of this shooter 11 times in 14 months. Sure, it's nothing. Why would a retired FBI special agent who was near other shooters also be within 1,000 feet of this shooter? Laura Loomer wonders as well. Have you noticed there's always a school shooting in a swing state or a caucus state right before an election? Every election year, like clockwork? Just making an observation, she says. Meanwhile, multiple eyewitnesses say there was more than one shooter. Fox News spoke to a family member that confirmed more than one shooter, possibly as many as 4 shooters from eyewitnesses. That's not me saying that. That's eyewitnesses saying that. Kids and teachers reporting gunfire going off nearly at the same time at complete opposite ends of the school. That's curious. The school is very large, and for gunfire to go off nearly at the same time for a complete opposite end of the school, to navigate through the entire school, to have that happen, I mean, maybe this kid was Barry Allen. The Flash could travel that quickly. Jumped into a wormhole. It's interesting. So do we discount eyewitness reports on a regular basis now? That's the thing that we do, like at the Trump assassination?
Yes.
We just ignore these?
Yeah.
Oh, all these people that are on camera, on film, talking to Fox News, talking to CBS, talking to ABC, talking to CNN. We saw someone on the water tower.
No, you didn't. Goodbye.
We didn't know you didn't. You're an idiot. So we discount that now, and we just swallow this hook, line, and sinker like this new narrative. Okay, maybe it's just this kid. Well, his family is furious today. His aunt posting all over Facebook. The family is up in arms, saying that their nephew should not have to deal with this at all. What's going on here? I guess we'll find out tomorrow in court, maybe at his I guess prelim hearing. The school is very large, so for gunfire to go off nearly at the same time from complete opposite ends of the school makes it difficult to believe that one shooter was there. But we hope we get answers on that. We'd love to have transparency on that. The FBI also making us aware that the school received a phone call this morning that warned about shootings. Okay, so the high school at the center of today's mass shooting in Georgia received an earlier phone threat. Multiple law enforcement officials tell CNN. The FBI posted this. Law enforcement officials in Georgia say Apalachee High School received a phone call this morning warning that there would be shootings at 5 schools. And that the Apalachee school would be first. So you receive this information and then you have school that day?
And you didn't lock down? You didn't put extra security? It's interesting.
So it's not known who placed the call. Officials tell CNN they are investigating that and they're looking into that. That'll be nice. So first, we now know the school received a phone call before the school shooting started saying that there would be shootings at the school and 5 other schools. And then a few hours later, the school is attacked. I also found this nugget very interesting. I spent quite a bit of time on the school's website today digging through past posts and found this little gem posted in 2021. The school received multiple threats. And they posted this, responding to school threats. This semester, we've dealt with several unfounded threats at our school, and we want to share additional information with our parents so we are collectively informed and prepared moving forward. We do not want our children fearing coming to school. Of course not. So based on our investigations, these threats fall into 2 categories. Social media posts. These threats are frequently posted on social media with a vague message of violence at school. Often these posts were generated somewhere else, often from another state. Interesting. And then number 2, to disrupt the learning. Students have realized that threats to the school safety disrupt learning. Some students have made threats with hopes of getting a test rescheduled or of not going to school that day. So they know this. Okay. So they posted this. So there's been multiple threats at this school, and they're telling parents, don't worry about it, basically. These are just vague online threats. Don't worry about it. We don't want, we want your kids to come to school. And we think that's mostly just kids trying to get out of taking tests. Okay. But on the morning, so then is this a crying wolf moment? So then you get a call from someone who warns that there's going to be a shooting that day at the school. We're going to hit multiple schools, up to 5 schools, and your school will be first. Just ignore it. It's another just vague threat. Now 4 people are dead, 9 injured, 2 students, 2 teachers. Sources in Georgia sent us this fundraising email. Thank you to this source for sending this. If you're watching, thank you. This was sent out within minutes of the shooting. from Democrats trying to raise money for Democrats, blaming Republicans for the shooting. This was sent out as an email. Republican Mike Collins has blood on his hands. The deaths in Barrow County are a direct result of his support for weapons of war. He's hiding behind the Second Amendment. He must be defeated. He's our #1 target in Georgia. Help send a message now. Donate to defeat him. Donate to restrict weapons sales. Donate for common sense gun reform. Donate to remove guns from the hands of violent white male killers. Okay. We need red flag laws in Georgia, and Mike Collins stands in the way. Okay. So you can unpack that all you want. Like restrict weapons sales to a hunter, to a father who owned hunting rifles. And if that is in fact the only person involved in this shooting or at all, we don't know. So we'll see more at court tomorrow, but we have a lot of questions. And I think when you have all of these eyewitnesses coming forward, discounting the official narrative that they're trying to foist on you right away, we should question that. We should question everything, and that's what we try to do here on the show. We've got more news coming up here on this Thursday.
Yes, we're going to talk about whether or not the National Guard has been called in to, in fact, arrest Donald Trump, take him to prison. Is that what they're doing in and around New York City? We know they're not there because there's a migrant crisis and 75% of all arrests have to do with migrants. It's not for that, right? No, it's the criminal Donald Trump who's really coming to get you. Is that what's going on?
Or like unrest in the city, right? I mean, like they're worried. They're bringing in hundreds of National Guard for what? Is there going to be massive unrest because he will be sentenced?
Right. And so he has, in fact, made an appeal to delay that sentencing. We're going to talk to Lionel Nation, one of our favorite legal analysts, coming up here to figure out, is Trump going to jail? Is this a part of the election cycle right now? What, in fact, is going on? We're also going to talk about all this family feuding around politicians. Is this something you're going to base your vote on? Do you care about this? What is it? Is this just family grifters to be expected? But first, we want to tell you about our friends over at American Financing, because if you are stressed about your monthly income because inflation is out of control and you just feel like you can't cover your bills, you're definitely not alone. Most Americans feel this way. Everything is so expensive. And this morning in the newsletter, we covered how jobs report is just terrible. It seems like the Fed is going to decrease interest rates, which will make inflation worse. So it's a Band-Aid on what should be a stitch wound. It's not great right now. But if you have assets to leverage, such as your home, American Financing can teach you how to do that. They have salary-based consultants that will look at what liabilities you've got versus what assets and teach you whether or not you can leverage that. This is something that wealthy people know. It's one of the main tenets of the best-selling book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, is leverage what you've got. Free up your income in order to build wealth, not live by liabilities. So you can call them, and they have been saving their customers an average of $800 a month. Waiting is just not an option. And if you call today, you could save yourself by delaying 2 mortgage payments and just give yourself some breathing room. So again, this is just something that we are asking you to learn if it can help you and your family, and they will teach you. You can call them at 866-890-8434, or you can visit them at americanfinancing.net/redacted. One more time, that's americanfinancing.net/redacted. President Trump's legal team is trying to delay his sentencing for the hush money trial from New York. But in New York, authorities are already preparing for a possible Trump imprisonment, as in he would go to jail in the coming days in the heat of the election. Sentencing is supposed to happen on September 18th, but Trump's legal team is asking for a delay from the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals when a U.S. district judge already rejected this on Tuesday. So we invited legal analyst Lionel from the Lionel Nation YouTube channel. He's a former prosecutor who can help us break this down. Lionel, it's always a pleasure to have you with us. Trump in prison before the election. How could this happen?
It's not.
No, you're saying no.
He will never see a jail cell ever. But let's go through this and pretend that he's not President Trump.
Okay.
September the 16th, there is going to be a motion in which Judge Mershon, who is the New York State court judge and the, as you say, hush money. It's not hush money. Nobody can even explain what this is. And I'm not exaggerating. I really can't tell you what exactly he was found guilty of in terms of 34 counts. But that's
You've been on this show many times and said this is the thinnest legal case that he's facing, but the most imminent. We've been over this, so I want to refer our viewers to your analysis of this in the previous months.
Right. Well, it is a case, not to belabor the point, but it is a case where, first of all, hush money is an NDA. If you've ever been in, and most people who have been in media will tell you they've signed a non-disclosure agreement, non-disparagement. We'll pay you, leave, don't say anything bad about us. We won't say anything bad about you. That's an NDA. It happens all the time. There's nothing illegal or improper about asking somebody not to say something. There are reasons why, for example, you might, when you are for office, you might want to take care of some things. For example, let's say you're there's a divorce or child support pending, and you think to yourself, it might be a good idea for me to kind of square that away before I run for office. Okay, I'll pay my ex, or we'll do something to facilitate that. It's done all the time. If I do anything to improve my standing, my appearance, up to and including surgery. So anyway, there's nothing wrong with it. They're alleging that what he did was he mislabeled a payment that was actually not really a legal payment to Stormy Daniels, but was actually a something that benefited his campaign, all to somehow subvert or defraud the voters based upon a federal law, which a state court does not have any jurisdiction to do. Normally, this would have been a misdemeanor. It becomes a felony when you do it to conceal another crime. That other crime was a federal crime, which Alvin Bragg, the DA, has no jurisdiction over. And if that makes any sense to you, congratulations, you're the one. So in any event, he's been found guilty of 34. Now, September the 16th, there was going to be just a motion, which, by the way, Alvin Bragg, the DA, has said, I don't mind if you postpone this. He's kind of signaling, look, Judge, you do whatever you want. We're really in no hurry here, which is kind of odd. Most assuredly, Judge Juan Merchan is himself going to say, forget it, let's proceed. I want to be the judge that found him guilty, that convicted him. And if I sentence him to an hour of prison or jail, if it's less than a year, I realize that's going to be postponed and stayed by virtue of appeals, immediate appeals. So he will never see any jail cell, at least until after the election. But he wants to be, people believe, he wants to be the judge that said, I did it. And to give Kamala Harris the ability to say, he is a convicted felon, prison bound. And they, of course, can extrapolate all of that. He is not going to see, that's never going to happen, because it can't, by virtue of the fact that he's a president, there's Secret Service, and no first-time offender ever would be looking at any significant time, especially a first-time offender, not a violent offense. So that's a waste of time. But let's make it even more complicated. You've got state court. You've got federal. You've got the Supreme Court. You've got he just tried to file an appeal to a federal district court to see if he could remove the case to federal. They said, no, you're not going to do that. That's subject to appeal now to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. Then you also have the notion of immunity. The immunity case really is interesting because you have to go through this really gums up the works. You have to go through each particular instance of alleged wrongdoing and ask yourself, did he or did he not do any of this within the confines of the presidency? Did he confer with his staff? Did he confer with the Department of Justice? that could take forever just to go through that here, not to mention his other cases in federal court. So that's going to gum up the works. Then you have appeals maybe within those intermediary steps. Let's say, for example, on the 16th, Judge Mershon, which we believe, will deny his motion to dismiss or whatever it is based upon whatever the reasons. Now, does President Trump have the right to appeal that? Yes. State court, federal court, court of appeals? I don't know. People are saying, the New York, it's very odd. The New York Court of Appeals is the New York Supreme Court for state court. The trial court is called the Supreme Court, just to make this as complicated as you possibly can. If anybody has any feeling of being comfortable with the New York Court of Appeals, look what they did recently in the Harvey Weinstein case, which I think was just horrid. So to wrap it all up and to perorate, he is not going to be, he's not going to go to any kind of jail. He very well could be on the 18th sentenced to jail, which would immediately be stayed pending an appeal. That's almost guaranteed.
Now, okay, but there's several things here that we have been over many times. One is that you said that he was, and this is what is in the court filings, is that they claim that he used money to conceal a crime, but they never told him what the crime would be throughout the trial. So his lawyers can argue a very serious Sixth Amendment violation because you have the right to know what you are being tried for. So he continues to run this up the flagpole that we should want every American to have access to. And they continue to sort of say, no, we can do this to you. It's just our right to do this to you. So you started a thought and I interrupted you, that if this were anyone else but Trump, it may go this way. Well, we saw Hillary Clinton use campaign money for the Steele dossier and funnel it through legal. So, okay, let's play this out. If this were Hillary Clinton, what would be happening?
She wouldn't be here, first of all. It would be deferred.
She's not here, first of all. She should be if Trump is.
Well, yes, she should. If somebody were to have charged her with that, or if somebody were to have found that to be problematic. It's just like with Hunter Biden, just like with him.
Yes. Right.
Why is this? I can't imagine why he's not under the prison. There are multiple layers of justice. I'm sorry to tell you. I'll go back a step further. I will never understand how during the course of all of that investigation, when the FISA court would actually base warrants on articles written and stories concocted by the memoirs and the like. I mean, that's another story. That's another story.
Right.
Again, if it's Trump, it's completely different. Let's assume this were you. I would go into, first of all, it would never be charged. It would never be charged. They would say, if Alvin Bragg would say, do you have any idea of how many cases I've got in New York? I do not have unlimited resources. I do not have unlimited assistant district attorneys. I really have some very, very serious stuff right now. This is bookkeeping at best. Look, let's do a couple of things here. Let's do a deferred prosecution. You tell Natalie, you promise to be good, and we'll just drop this, or I'll plead to a misdemeanor. In fact, I would have suggested that Trump would have reasonably said, okay, I'll plead to a misdemeanor. I mean, it's kind of a pro forma thing, but no. They wanted,
or during the Chris Christie years, perhaps a large fine, and you go on your way.
Right, exactly. This is one of the things which is the most problematic, and let's be really corny here. Equal justice under the law. Equal justice, equal treatment, equal. What we are seeing here is unbelievable. I mean, think about this one. Now, of the cases so far, most of them have pretty much been sidelined. The Mar-a-Lago case, Jack Smith, who is relentless, who files a superseding indictment to clarify the immunity cases in something where they're actually trying to suggest that President Trump was somehow responsible for January 6th or something, that one I don't think we'll ever see the day because nobody really understands it. It's just too tenuous. The case that would have really been something would have been, believe it or not, the documents case, because that's pretty cut and dry. That's really cut and dry. Do you have that? Did you not have that? That's gone bye-bye as well. And let me throw this in as well, because this is also another one which we forget about. The Georgia racketeering case. That's exceedingly serious. That thing's also gone bye-bye for a variety of reasons as well. What this man has been through, whether you like President Trump or not, it's just ungodly. If this was a poor, uneducated black defendant, people would be marching. They would say, you can't do this. You cannot exact this amount of juridical punishment against someone. What is it that you want? Now, believe it or not, I know you might laugh at this. A lot of people who are prosecutors say, I don't want to make it look too obvious. Even during the case of John Gotti and others, they have to sort of be able to pass the sniff test. They have to, and especially Judge Mershon, who I would think would probably say, if I want to go on to be maybe a federal judge or maybe a state Court of Appeal judge, I've got to maintain my judicial integrity. And I'm not suggesting that what he's doing has violated that. But this absolute overzealous attack. And let me also tell you, Natalie, and I'm not exaggerating the point, if you ask anybody to really sit down and explain not what Mershon says or what Alvin Bragg says, but explain to a layman what Trump actually did and what crime he was hiding and how a state prosecutor can use a federal crime. It would be like you in the state of New York charging somebody for violating a Georgia law. They would say you can't do that. Same thing goes for federal. So as you can see, not to, I think I've just complicated this even more. He's not going to step foot in any prison ever. Let me also throw in something. There are some contempt charges out there that, believe it or not, may carry more weight than anything else. It was suggested to me by someone in the know that something that might not be too far-fetched, him being sentenced, believe it or not, to contempt. And that can take the form of actually showing up, believe it or not, showing up to a courthouse, checking in for 8 hours, 2 days, and leaving. Something that seems almost like staying after school, but in view of his particular security considerations, that might be something that's in the offing. Don't be surprised. But the Democrats must say that he is a convicted felon and that he was at least sentenced to prison, even though he may not physically actually ever see a prison itself.
Okay. Okay. So something that you had said.
Your expression says it all.
Well, yes, because hear me out on this. Something you had said when we spoke about this before was you can't unring that bell. So they can put this stink on him and it cannot come off for certain voter populations, which would lead to irreparable harm to the election. What I'm struggling with is who could be punished for that so that it doesn't happen again. Certainly, if Trump were to take office, he can't circle back around and make sure that those people are punished because that would be wrong too. So it seems to me that there are certain people in power who will get away with selective prosecution. Oh, yeah. And I'm mad about it.
Well, let me see if let me do it this way. If I represented them, I would say they've done nothing that is illegal. It might be improper. It might be politically ill-advised, but every charge they filed satisfied motions to dismiss, appellate review. Many courts looked at it and they said, there's nothing wrong with this, even though nobody might have been ever charged with this. At this level, prosecutions are always discretionary, depending upon who you are, and there always are political considerations as well. Your point is well taken, though. the average citizen says, if President Trump was treated worse than anyone else, if anybody is treated worse than anyone else, what repercussions do they have? What form of review do they have? How does one unring the bell? How does somebody disabuse themselves of this unfairness? And I will tell you, stand in line. There are people throughout history where you are going to ask yourself, why in the name of God? We could spend forever doing this. But here is the thing. Now, from a political point of view, as you and I know, Trump lives in a different inertial world. He's in a different universe.
State of
his
being,
up is
right?
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, his gravity doesn't work. Every time he gets arrested, remember when they said, they can't take a mugshot of him. He's a former president. Well, the mugshot became he loved it. It was his red badge of courage. Everything, every time he was arrested or convicted of something, his poll numbers went up, his fundraising went up. Doesn't make any sense. None of it makes any sense. Any of this. So his counter to that is, because he lives in this unique world, what would be normally just deleterious to you and me, to him somehow, I hate to be Nietzsche-esque, but makes him stronger, makes him more popular.
Okay. I mean, I understand that is the phenomenon, but it doesn't make me feel better about the abuse of the law.
Oh, it shouldn't.
Okay. So that's where we're going to have to leave it, because it just leaves me with a bile in my, I don't know. All right. Well, I understand what you're saying and I don't like it, but I like your analysis anyway. And you're the only person I want to talk to about it.
Let me leave you one thing just to show you. And it goes back to the whole notion of equal justice under the law, the idea that we're supposed to be treated. Imagine going back to Hunter Biden. Imagine if that had been Donald Trump Jr. Mm-hmm. Everything that Hunter did, everything he did, cocaine in the White House, whether that was his or not, Donald Trump Jr. would have been in Leavenworth. It would have been the worst thing. When you see people treated differently because of who they are, because of their race, because of where they live, because of their money, that's the part that is in essence what this is. Treat Donald Trump the way you would treat anybody else.
In fact, in the last hour, the breaking news is that Hunter Biden is actually going to plea now, and he's going to change his not guilty plea to a plea because he no longer has the protection of whoever the heck is in power right now.
And but he also, remember, he theoretically, if it's hard for me to say this, if Kamala Harris were to be elected, she could always pardon him later on. We always knew it was going to be a plea. There was no defense. He had no defense. They were going to run this out as far as possible. And thank God for that one particular judge who noticed what they were doing, because they were doing this omnibus plea that would have taken care of everything. And she said, "Oh, no, wait. Bless her heart," as we say in the South. This is so incredibly unfair, every bit of it. And that is something that I find to be, as you say, so awful. Look, if Trump did something wrong, fine. That's okay. Treat him, but be fair. Be able to at least explain it. But yet there are people, as you know, Natalie, who hate him either because of TDS or whatever the affliction. They hate him so much that even if you were to execute him, they would want him to be exhumed, brought back to life, and executed again. There is no amount of punishment or a pain exacted upon him that some people are satisfied with. They are just, I've never seen it. For every bit of love, for this inordinate amount of love, there is also this concomitant inordinate hatred that maybe counterbalances it. I hope we never see this again. Yeah.
It's upsetting. Okay. Well, thank you for your analysis. I want to tell our viewers to follow Lionel Nation on YouTube for more of this, because at least it makes sense of whether the law is being used or not used. So thank you. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, Lionel.
Thank you.
All right. I realized that we had something with my microphone.
We fixed it.
Yeah, and we seem to have fixed it in between.
Does it sound better now?
Yeah, I apologize if that was tinny, but Lionel sounded great, and it was him that you really needed to hear, not me. So hopefully you got value out of that segment still.
Unfortunately, like what I listen to is a very clean copy, so I don't actually listen to what's going out because I would be trying to switch the show on a delay, and you can't do that.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's.
So hopefully it sounds better now. We just
All
fixed
right.
it. I think we just fixed it.
Apologize.
Does she sound better
check,
now?
Check one, check two.
Yeah, it was just
Okay.
her
Check
volume. Her volume
Checking
was
the
too
mic.
low.
Yeah. And if I need to,
All right.
if I need to cut her mic at any time, try talking now.
Sometimes he does that, and I'm going to keep on going.
I'm just going to keep muting you.
Yeah. Okay. That's rude. That's
All
what's
right.
going to happen to Kamala
you know
Harris
what?
at the next debate.
I can do that.
Marriage.
I can do that too. I have buttons that I can shut everything off.
Okay.
That end show button.
I won't piss you off then.
Don't do that. We've got more news to get to here on your Thursday. We've got a very busy show. So thank you. First of all, I should say thanks to all of our new subscribers. We had a few thousand new subscribers to the channel overnight. So thank you guys. I always want to welcome all the new folks who are joining us here. We have no agenda. We are not paid by Big Pharma. We're not paid by Russia. We're not paid by anybody. We have a few sponsors here on the show. So thank you for your support, and by viewers like you who subscribe for free, and any sort of super chats, anything like that. And also we have a Plus Club too. So anyway, thank you guys for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. We really appreciate it. Coming up, we're going to talk about, almost the entire Tim Walz family has come out now and said they're voting for President Trump. Like, what the hell's going on? And then you have former President Barack Obama's brother coming out saying he's supporting President Trump. Like, what is with all this Remember the Kennedys, of course? All the Kennedy family came out and said they can't believe that Robert F. Kennedy, what he's saying, they're definitely going to support Biden at the time. So we're going to talk about these family feuds and what's really behind them coming up. Plus, we're going to talk about the cover-up at the CDC. We have a special guest who's uncovered some absolutely damning data. It's criminal, frankly, and we're not going to be able to do it here on this platform. We will have to end the stream at that point and go over to our friends at Rumble. So we have a Rumble channel. Almost nearly 600,000 of you guys are subscribed over there. So please come over there at that point. We'll give you a warning. Don't worry about it. We'll have to end the stream here because we won't be able to talk about some of those things right here on this channel. It would violate their terms of service, and we don't want to do that. We want to try to reach as many people as we can, but we can't do that story here. So we'll get to all of that, but first,
we want to tell you about our show sponsor, which is Hillsdale College. Now, you know that one of the things we value here on Redacted is being well studied, to study to the best of our ability in order to provide context to the world that we live in, history, economics, the great works of literature. If you didn't study those things in school, then maybe now is a time to give yourself a refresher course, because scrolling through the internet is not deep study, but you can in fact either take a class or decide how you want to further educate yourself with Hillsdale College. They are offering more than 40 free online courses in the most important and enduring subjects. You can learn about the works of C.S. Lewis, or stories from the book of Genesis, or the meaning of the U.S. Constitution, which is being constantly tested in this day and age. The rise and fall of the Roman Republic also seems fairly relevant in our day. So a lot of these are free, and we want to recommend that you go through the program and see what might work for you. What is it that you'd like to be more educated about in order to better navigate the society that we're living in right now? So right now you can go to hillsdale.edu/redacted to start, and it's free and easy to get started. Once again, it's hillsdale.edu/redacted, and these are self-paced courses. So you can start whenever and wherever you are. Maybe use it, a little bit at a time for your busy schedule. So check it out. See what might work for you at hillsdale.edu/redacted. Well, here's a thought piece, and I really do want to know what you think about this, because I'm torn on this one. Is it fair game for politicians' family members to speak out against them, or is this a game of airing your dirty laundry? Does this feel like something like, ooh, I feel like I shouldn't know this. This is inside baseball. This is your family, not for me to see. A little how I feel like when people read their own wedding vows in front of me that they wrote, like, this is for you. this is not for me. I shouldn't see this, but maybe that's just me. I'm a little uncomfortable with that type of intimacy. Or is this maybe a violation of Casa Nostra? You know what I mean? The mafia, like, you don't talk. So let me know what you think about it, because this image has gone viral of 8 members of Governor Tim Walz's family expressing their support for Donald Trump. See, they're all wearing a t-shirt, like a Disney World family t-shirt, but they say Walz for Trump. In fact, his older brother, Jeff Walz, who lives in Florida, says his brother is not the type of character you'd want in the White House. And in fact, we've done segments about what his character is. It doesn't seem the most honest of sorts. He says he has stories to tell, and he could tell them. In a similar vein, Malik Obama is trending also because the former President Obama's half-brother says that he also will vote for Donald Trump, although this will be his 3rd time because he backed Trump in 2016 and in 2020 in the previous 2 elections. Now, he said his brother was all out for himself during his administration. That's his big problem with his brother. You could say that. I mean, he bombed the holy hell out of the Middle East. So that's my main problem with him. It's not personal. So that doesn't really sway me about the Obamas, but they had other family feuds about a charity that led to their falling out. Now, when Robert F. Kennedy Jr., RFK Jr., endorsed Donald Trump just a few days ago, the Kennedy family released this statement against him, saying that his endorsement was a betrayal of the values that our father and our family hold most dear. Now, that kind of hits me wrong, because no family has a monopoly on a line of thought. Like, I don't get to decide how my kids feel politically. That's not for me. You can't just say all Kennedys represent this. It just feels dirty. And then, of course, you know, President Trump's niece, Mary L. Trump, was one of the first to do this and very beloved by the mainstream media for her memoir, Too Much and Never Enough. In fact, it was a New York Times bestseller, and Amazon, take a look here, has it marked as a Goodreads choice. They love it so much. They love dirt on Trump. I mean, I meant to bring this, but I didn't. But think about how they cover this as like, oh, you need to know that Trump is a dirty guy, not a good guy. But then when you look at how they treat memoirs such as Tara Reid, her memoir about being abused by Joe Biden, that book is suppressed at every turn. What were you going to say, David?
I was going to say what also frustrated me is the fact that they brought Bobby and John into that conversation and said that they would be doing the same thing. But if you look at what the Democratic Party is standing for right now, even John and Bobby would have been vehemently against the suppression of free speech and the things that they're doing on that side.
And war.
Right.
Yeah.
And
war.
Yeah. Vehemently anti-war.
It would seem, right? But I don't think anybody has the monopoly on somebody's memory, right? And so you can't say that someone interpreted it right or wrong. Those people are not here to speak for themselves. We each get our own interpretation. You can't say one is wrong or one is right. And in fact, Mary Trump has a new memoir coming out within the next few days on this anti-Trump rhetoric that she has. I want to say it's a grifting. This is her new book coming out in September called Who Could Ever Love You? It's about her father, Freddie Trump. He was the oldest son of Fred and Linda, President Trump's parents. And the summary says, because I haven't read it, that Fred Sr. was such a tyrant and her father, Freddie, was too sensitive and kind, and that contempt led to his alcoholism. So what she's implying is that this is the Trump way. They're tyrannical, win at any cost. Well, President Trump recently spoke out about his brother Freddie on a podcast, and he did confess that his brother's alcoholism inspired him to never drink.
I had a great brother who taught me a lesson: don't drink, don't drink. And he said, don't smoke. He smoked and he drank, and he was a great guy. He was a handsome, very handsome guy.
Is he older? He was older?
Quite a bit older, yeah. And he had a problem with alcohol and smoke a lot. But, you know, I tell people, no drugs, no drinking, no cigarettes.
Yeah.
I tell that to my kids all the time. I'd say, no drugs, no drinking, no smoke. And
it was tough.
He'd always tell me, he'd say never. So he was, really old enough that you would look up to somebody, and I'd look up to him anyway.
Did you admire him?
Yeah, I admired so much about him. He had so much going. He had the look. He had
was his name?
Unbelievable personality, like an incredible personality.
What was his name, Donald?
His name was Fred Trump. And he had a problem with alcohol. He got addicted to it.
All right. So she has her memory of it. He has his memory of it. It's fair. Everybody gets their own memory of their family. They get their own take. She coped one way, but she is selling books on the back of his success. Who in the world would care about her story without it being connected to Donald Trump? So I want to put this to you. Are these things relevant for voters? Is this something voters should consider? Because certainly you could ask several members of my family who might say, oh, Natalie, she's obnoxious. Right, Clayton? Nobody would say that about me.
Exactly. I mean, sorry, I wasn't. Never.
Everybody has a family member who is willing to speak out about somebody, right? And so is this something that, the press thinks, oh, you need to know this. You should use this to influence your vote. So are these people grifters, or is this relevant? What do you think?
I think they're absolutely grifting off of it. I mean, it's like the wash that comes out from behind, behind a boat. It's like clearly they're riding this wave and trying to make money off of it. And of course, so many members of Congress too. Yeah, exactly, Philip. Opportunistic, right? Yeah. So it seems like every election cycle, Mary Trump has a book coming out.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, are you allowed to write more than one memoir? Isn't that that seems like I thought
part
you
one
got
and
a
part
memoir
two
in your life.
Yeah.
Isn't that sort of like an autobiography? Like you can't keep writing autobiographies.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot this part.
Yeah. Oh, wait, one more thing, guys. Just one more thing.
He's going to run again? I have more to say. That's what it feels like to me. And she will get another paycheck, and she will absolutely get another interview with Rachel Maddow, more time on CNN in order to sell this book. So, yeah, absolutely.
She'll make hundreds of thousands of dollars off of this book.
Right.
Absolutely. She probably got paid handsomely by some liberal publishing company. Do we know who published
I can find it.
So she probably got an advance.
Premier Collective is where I found it. I'm not sure if that's a publisher or not.
So I'd be curious, if she gets, some sort of a payment up front from this sort of probably a liberal publishing company.
Right.
I mean, I can't imagine that it's not a liberal publishing company that's trying to publish this. Then they're going to push her out on all of the networks.
Yes.
They're going to push her out on all the liberal networks, MSNBC, NBC. They'll put her out on, CBS Sunday morning. They'll do an interview with her. 60 Minutes will probably do a sit down with her and push the book as well.
Is there a forward in it by Rachel Maddow by chance? Just out of curiosity.
Probably.
It would seem. I just wonder who out there, and I know, there are people who make their voting decisions on much more vapid things, such as whether or not Ariana Grande supports Kamala Harris, which she does. But, is anybody like, well, even his own brother doesn't like him, so I'm not going to, vote for Tim Walz or something like that. And is there anything here that we need to see as voters? Or again, is this like people who write their own marriage vows and make us sit through that? You can tell how I feel.
I think there's something there. Maybe I'm sort of in the middle on this. It's sort of like, where there's smoke, there's fire, though. And, listen to Mary Trump. I mean, just information is power. Like, listen to what she has to say. I did years ago. I was curious what she had to say.
Yeah.
But it didn't sway my opinion in any way, but I just, information is power. We should not be censoring information. So now that the Walz family, the entire Walz family says, I've got stories that will make your, hair on the back of your neck stand up about Tim Walz. Like, I'd like to know that information.
Okay.
I'd like to know what the family has to say about it. In the same way that I would like to know what the Kennedys have to. I want to know all of it. And you make your own decisions once we have that information.
I don't know. I feel like it's mind my own business. I'm just going to vote based on basically the warring industrial complex.
I don't know, because
whether or not people have family members that don't like them, we all have that.
Yeah,
I think it depends on the level of the information you get. Because if you heard that like Tim Walz was abusive or something like that could change your view of the person. This is a person that was abusive to children or something. Like, I'm just using that as an example. But there are things that would make you think, oh, wow, maybe this isn't a person. So, I could be swayed with information as long as there was something to back it up and there was proof of it.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Yeah. Evidence. Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate your thoughts on the matter. I thought this was kind of a fun piece about what's our business and what's not. And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer here. So we will see more of this, I'm sure. And inevitably, you will get this book surfaced to you on Amazon if you're an Amazon user, because obviously.
Well, and did you see now Amazon has come out and admitted that it was a glitch with their Alexa system yesterday, and they've now said they're fixing it. When you would ask Alexa to tell us about, Donald Trump, we can't give you any information on whether or not you should vote for him. But what about Kamala Harris? Sure. We'll give you information about her and why she's a pioneer, a gender
maybe a glitch
pioneer.
in the programmer, but not a glitch in the programming.
Yes,
Like,
exactly.
Exactly.
That person has been not fired, but promoted internally. So that's the same Amazon. Now they've apologized for it. Bezos, their Alexa team has apologized and they've fixed the glitch now.
Okay.
Now maybe if you can give me accurate weather information, that would be more. I'd work on that. Instead of your political bias.
All right. Well, speaking of information, we have to talk about this CDC cover-up. But guess where we cannot talk about it is one platform over another. If you're on one platform that rhymes with shmoo-moob, then we're not going to be there talking about that. If you're on another platform that rhymes with Bumble, but it's not Bumble. Isn't that a dating app?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
we're not
please
there.
date Redacted.
Yes,
Yes.
We're on a different one that rhymes with. Then come over there because we have to talk about that over in that platform. So those of you on shmoo-moob, we'll see you next week or join us. And thank you so much. And we will be live next week as well. We're back. It's no more holiday weekends.
So we're going to continue the stream right now on the other platform because, yes, we will be censored on the other one. So we're going to say goodbye to all of you guys who join us regularly here on YouTube. Thank you guys so much. But we are going to continue the stream because this is a very important story and it's unbelievable.